I've gone through a lot of interesting experiences in my life, and I figured I could lead today with kind of an interesting story that I like to laugh at quite a bit, and it'll kind of explain to you guys why I don't get along with dogs very well. So recently, I'd say as soon as maybe 7-8 months ago, my friend invited me to live with him. And that's because my living situation kind of changed a little bit. My rent kind of bumped up, and I was like, it's one of those things where if I could save as much money as possible, I'll do that. There's no harm in saving a little bit of money. Now, at the place I was staying, I was paying an arm and a leg for just the rent alone, let alone utilities and other bills I had. I was just swimming in a lot of money problems. And my friend decided to extend an offer to me. Now, it was a friend that I worked with and stuff for years. And he's like, hey man, I actually just bought a house. You should live with me. It's really cool. I have a spare bedroom. You'll love it. And I thought, well, that would be cool. Honestly, it's a sweet deal. Now, my only question was, what would I have to pay for when I moved in? Because obviously this is not like a free sort of thing. You're going to have to pay something, right? Well, he's like, oh, that's no problem. You'll just pay a minimum of $600 a month. You just pay $600 a month for everything included. You're good. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, because I'm paying like, $1,200 for rent where I'm staying, and that's not even including the other $1,500 and other bills I have for everything else. So I thought that was a perfect fit, and I'm like, awesome. I'm gonna go look at the place and stuff, see if it's a place I can commute to from that place to work perfectly fine. Obviously, we work in the same place, so it shouldn't be that bad. I mean, you would think it shouldn't be that bad, right? So anyways, I tell him about it. He's like, yeah, cool. Just show up to my house and on a Thursday. It was currently a Monday when this whole ordeal took place. He's like, yeah, just pull up to the house. I'll show you everything. I'll show you where you'd be sleeping and stuff like that. And yeah, by the way, the $600 includes everything: rent, electricity, water, everything. As long as you pay that, you're good. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. That's cool with me. Didn't have a problem with it. So, yeah, I decided to go over, look at everything. The house was nice. It was big. It was amazing. Everything I could expect. Only problem is, what I didn't mention is when I got to the house, I pull up in the garage and everything is awesome, right? I walk to my friend's front door, and here's where the situation kind of unfolds, right? I bang on the door, bang, 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 right? And my friend opens it up, and I see this big behemoth kind of walk from behind him and start staring at me. And yes, it was his dog, a Rottweiler. Oh my God, no big deal, whatever. So he opens the door. First thing the dog does is get back on its hind legs. And my friend's like, bro, don't worry about her. She's fine. She doesn't bite anybody. She's a big baby. I'm like, oh, cool. So as I take another step towards him, she almost lunges at my face, and my soul almost hit the eject button from my body. It's like, oh, no, we can't do this. We'll try again in another life. We're good. We are good here. That dog started, and I'm like, oh, no. We're not doing that. We are not doing that. Oh, hell no. And he's like, oh my God, she never acts like this with anybody else. And she jumped up. She literally jumped up and was almost face level with me. And I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to get mauled by your pet. I mean, I don't normally do things, but listen, if I have to I Am Legend your dog to protect myself, I will. Okay? I will. But I leaped back like 5 feet back outside, so I didn't even make it inside the house. I was like, no, she's fine. She's cool. She's calm, collected. And I'm like, oh. So that concluded my trip for the day, and I left. Now, a few weeks later, I'm over at work, and we're conversing and stuff like that. He's like, hey, so did you think about the offer? And I'm like, well, let me do something, and we'll see if this works. Now, I was working at a pizza place at this time, so I decided to tell him as soon as I got off work, right? The pizza place was maybe like 8 minutes from his house. I would go over to his house and get acquainted with the dog, and I would bring the dog some treats. So, cool. Now, mind you, this is a few weeks later, so the dog had only met me one time. This is the second time the dog meets me. I pull up to the house like I did the last time, and I ring the doorbell. My friend opens the door, and sure enough, the dog is there looking at me, angry as fuck, just and I'm like, oh my god. Now the dog doesn't say anything yet, and as soon as I step through the threshold of the door, same thing. Dog leaps, attempts to rip my face off, and my friend yanks the dog and keeps smacking the dog on the other side. I was like, stop, be chill, calm down. He's like, and so I'm like, oh my god. So I had the treats in my hand, and I was just throwing treats at the dog. I'm like, take those. And I guess it did distract the dog for a bit, but the dog kept looking at me, and I'm like, man, look, this is not for me, man. This is not for me. Because then my roommate threw an entire different scenario on me. He's like, hey, well, I'm gonna be leaving in a few weeks, and I'll be gone for like a month or so. And I'm like, so you're saying when I move in, I'll be in this house with a dog by myself? Oh, I could already envision what would happen. I would get home in the middle of the night because I work a night shift, and the dog would be waiting for me, and all that would have to happen is a slight change in the wind, and I would be dog food. So at that juncture, I realized dogs are just not for me. I'm more of a cat person. I don't know. Call me crazy. Maybe I'm just a baby, but I couldn't do it. I was afraid for my life. I was freaking out. That's pretty much it, guys. I mean, let me know if you guys have similar experiences with dogs. Most people are dog people, but I don't understand. Like, was it the fact that I don't know. My friend said maybe it's because I had my hat on. He also said that she probably doesn't like black people. All the black people she's met in her life, aside from him, because he's also black himself, she's very aggressive towards. But everybody else, if you have fair skin, you are good. Dogs. Jesus Christ.